I'm Carol Carter, and I'm pleased to be the interviewer and narrator of this video history today. I'm also an elected official and currently chair the City of Anna Maria Commission. As such, I am committed to this community and cherish the opportunity to live and work on Anna Maria Island. Today, Flag Day, June 14th, 2021, I'm honored to talk to two local women, Sue Ford Waite and Evelyn Harrison Hoskins, who are part of two outstanding multi-generational families who continue to live in Manatee County. Sue in Palmetto and Evelyn, or Evie as some call her, who currently resides right here in the city of Anna Maria. Sue, please introduce yourself and tell us about your heritage in Manatee County. I understand you have stories going back to your great-grandfather Howes and your grandfather who was a banker in Bradenton.
Yes, my mother was a Howes, and so that's the connection there. Her grandfather moved here, or actually to Palmetto, one of the first in the Palmetto area to help settle that area from Texas. And my grandfather came as a young boy. So they settled on the Manatee River, and actually in the same location where we live right now. They had built a two-story frame home there, which I grew up in, and my mother grew up in, of course. And then in about 59 or 60, my parents tore that old house down and built a new one, which is where we live now. My grandfather, as I knew him, was a banker in Bradenton. As a young man, he worked in various things in Palmetto and then decided to get into the banking business in Palmetto, which eventually moved over to Bradenton. At that time, there was no bridge, so he had to sail to work every day, which was kind of an interesting situation. Anyway, my mother's family grew up there in and out of the water all the time, because at that time the Manatee River was pure and you could swim in it, which I think it is again. I think it's all right to go in. There was a period of time where you couldn't go swimming in the river because it was so polluted, but now it seems to be better. Other than that, we're here always.
Evie, we need to hear about your roots in Western Manatee County. I understand you have both a physician and a politician in your family tree.
Yes. My great-great-uncle was Dr. M.B. Harrison, who came in the 1870s. He was the first doctor on the north side of the Manatee River. Now, he lived first out at Oak Hill, which is today's parish. And then my great-grandfather came in 1891 and moved down here. And my grandfather drove cattle from Alachua County down here at that time. And then they all eventually ended up moving into Palmetto in the 1890s. And yes, my grandfather was a politician. He was in the Florida legislature, in the Florida House and the Florida Senate. And the one thing that people remember him most for is getting the bill passed to accept Gamble Plantation, which is now a state park, and that was his doing. And one of his brothers was a circuit judge here for many, many years, Judge W.T. Harrison. And then another brother was in the cattle business, Wiles Harrison, and he was known in agriculture for experimenting with different types of grasses that were bug resistant and good grasses to grow here for the cattle because it's a huge cattle growing state. So that's a little bit about my background.
So I know you all will agree as you listen to this that we have people who have amazing backgrounds in this area, and we want to hear more about this. So let's fast forward to your growing up years. Tell me about how your families intertwined and how the two of you actually met. And tell me a little bit about some other families and other named families that we might be interested in.
We grew up because we knew each other because we lived close together
Yeah,
on the same street. Sis was a itch most of the time because she was enough younger that the rest of us kind of just let her tag along.
Yeah.
Which she did.
I did. And they would take me out into the marsh and leave me and run away. But we had a good time. It was fun growing up.
And were there other families that were kind of part of your inner circle at that time? Other names we might recognize?
Yes. The Winter family, my cousins, my first cousins that were Sue's age, they were also the ones who took me out in the marsh and left me. And the Harley family, Mr. Pope Harley lived in between my aunt and Sue. So they had children, so we would all play together. Plus Sue had cousins, I had cousins. There was quite an assortment of kids that would get together.
Sounds like a really fun, exciting time.
It was fun. Oh yeah, it was barefoot time and no AC, of course, and you just played outside all the time. So it was fun. We had a good time.
Well, I've heard about that your families not only intertwined themselves in Palmetto, but in the summers, your families came to Anna Maria Island for a period of time. Tell us a little bit about those adventures. How did you travel here from Palmetto? Where did your families stay on the island? And give us some logistics about what the families had to do to relocate here to Anna Maria Island.
Oh, that was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was no Manatee Avenue Bridge, so we had to come across the Cortez Bridge. And so we would come from Palmetto over Green Bridge, the old Green Bridge, which is now a fishing pier, and then out Manatee Avenue to Palmasola Drive, which is, well, at that time, beyond 26th Street, there was nothing. It was just vacant land. Mm-hmm. And you came all the way out to Palmasola and cut through on a windy, windy road that took you over to Cortez. On that road was one of our big things was to watch for the eagle's nest because there was a huge eagle's. Did you all do that too?
Oh, yes, we always watch for the
eagle's nest. And sometimes you saw an eagle, but not very often, but there was this gigantic nest. Anyway, and then we came across the Cortez Bridge, which was always an adventure because you always turned around and looked out the back window of the car and watched the boards behind you going like this. Because it was very much a wooden bridge that was not very stable.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my family started coming out when I was a year old, and we came basically the same way, or going out to Cortez Road, which was, it was all two-lane. 41 was two-lane. Cortez Road was two-lane, full of potholes, and the bridge was the same as Sue described. And we would always come for a month, the month of July. And I know one year, probably more than that, but especially I remember, we brought a refrigerator. We would bring extra beds. We would bring big 5-gallon water bottles because the water out here was not wonderful. So we would bring, bottles to refill like we have here in the museum. And just bring everything for the whole month and stay. It was quite an experience getting here. I always looked for the Cortez School. I knew when I saw the Cortez School, we were close.
You were close.
Is that where the Cortez Maritime Museum is now? That was the Cortez School, so you were getting close. And what kind of vehicles were the families in? If you brought a refrigerator, did you have a trailer?
We always, we got borrowed a truck from Uncle Wiles, who was the rancher. We got one of his trucks.
Was it a refrigerator or an icebox?
Well, I think it was a refrigerator.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Might have been a propane refrigerator.
Most of them were ice boxes out here, and you could sneak in and chip some ice off when you got thirsty.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was big.
Did you come in a truck, Sue?
No, we came in a car.
And you packed everything in it?
And we packed everything in it, yeah. It was great. And the roads out here were all dirt and stayed that way for a number of years. They were still dirt in the 50s.
Dirt and sand.
Mostly sand, not so much dirt.
Yeah. Well, you started to talk about, it was the month of July, Evie, that you were here. I understand you had a birthday in July. Maybe you can relate to some of the activities, birthday as well as an everyday activities what was a summer day like here for you all?
Hot.
Oh, hot. Hot. Yeah, we would just run, play on the beach. Our parents would always get us out early, and we would swim and play on the beach, and then we would come in and we would have to rest. We would have to take a nap. They did not want us out on the beach in the hot part of the day. And I guess along about 3 o'clock, I would nag my Aunt Evelyn. She was the good sport who would always take us down to the beach. So, I'd always say, Aunt Evelyn, it's time to go to the beach. And we go back out, And then now our families, my family and my cousins had other houses, and they used to alternate supper, the evening meal. One family one night, and we would all get together and eat at one of the other's house. It was fun.
That's cool.
Did you eat at
No, we did our thing. We weren't. They were lined up in 3 cottages there all along together. We were not, and they had come to the beach a lot earlier than we had come.
Yeah.
We didn't come out here until I was probably 5 or 6.
But y'all were over near the sandbar.
We were we were fairly near that same area. And in the we had to take naps too, or I did. I'm an only child, so I got spoiled completely. And after we had our naps, we always went down to the sandbar for a popsicle. That was a big do for the day, was to go get a popsicle.
And do we know what the sandbar was called back then?
I think it was the Pavilion, wasn't it?
I think so.
But it was a honky-tonk joint.
It was,
and it was a bar.
Yeah.
And they had popsicles, yeah.
It was really a honky-tonk. We stayed down on Pine, and my parents, they complained all the time about that loud music from that bar room over there. And it was loud.
Yeah. And often your family, Evie, stayed right what we call Gulf Boulevard now, which is a small street right between Magnolia and Palm that looks right on the Gulf.
Yes, most of the years that's where we stayed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think those houses are rather restored now.
They are
vacation rentals.
They are still there.
That's cool.
How would you all describe the population, the other people who were living here on Anna Maria Island when you were summering here in the 40s and 50s?
Minimal. There just weren't very many people on the island.
There weren't. We would go to church. We always went to church.
Now, did you go down to Roser?
We went to Roser. We're Baptist. My family goes way back in church in the Baptist church in Palmetto. But there was no Baptist church out here until the 50s. So we would go to Roser. And then finally, I don't remember what year it was probably around 1950, the Baptists came out and they held services down where the theater is. So one summer I went to Sunday school where the theater is.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
And that's the Anna Maria Island Players
the
that
Players.
are right on Gulf Drive,
Gulf Drive,
and Pine Avenue now.
Yeah.
The other biggie was the IGA store.
Yes.
That was always the place to go to get snacks. And that continued on for a number of years.
That continued on until Publix came.
Was that what it was?
That was what it was.
Okay, that's funny. Because I know after I got married and had children, and we would come back to the beach for 2 weeks, not for a month. And that was a big thing for the kids, was to go down to the IGA when they were little. We'd turn them loose, get rid of them for half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And those of us who are here now and relatively recent people living here in Anna Maria, we see the sign, Ginny and Janie's at the old IGA.
At the old IGA, yeah.
That brings that around to us. You have some memories of around World War II on the island or after that. And I understand from reading some things here that the Egmont Key was kind of a strategic location during the war. Do you have any remembrances of things that were different during and after the war years?
You knew something about military personnel being on the island, which I did not.
My brother remembers Army people being on the island, and that there was a fence down on the north end, and that they had barracks down there. I don't remember anything about the war.
Yeah, you were too little, probably.
I was too little. But he said they were down there and that they would patrol the beaches. Of course, everyone had to have blackout curtains to, so no light would shine out in the Gulf. That was important.
It wasn't just for the turtles. It was for
It was
military.
It was for the military.
Yeah.
But now,
And the other thing I remember is that we were out. We spent a lot of time on the pier, on the old pier, or I did. And one day, I looked up and there were hundreds and hundreds of huge planes in formation flying over. And during that same period of time, there would be fighter jets, or I don't know if they had jets then or not, fighter planes coming out of MacDill doing strafing exercises on the little island right out.
yes.
Passage Key.
Yes, I think it probably was Passage Key. Anyway, from the pier, you could see them strafing with the sand popping up. Well, that was sort of exciting.
Yes, I
That's about
think
it.
given the location, there was some a strategic location of Passage Key and Egmont Key, given that location, and if the military were concerned that there might be enemy ships or submarines or whatever coming up in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I think there were reports that there were subs. You heard, who knows whether it was rumor or true.
You mentioned the Anna Maria City Pier, the historic pier that was built in 1911. So it was well established when you all were here early on. Give us some of your memories about the pier, and we're excited about the transformation of the pier these days after it being rebuilt. So let us hear about that.
I don't know. Did you go to the? I went to the pier a lot.
Yes, we did too. There was a restaurant out there, but it was not open at night.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because maybe it was open on the weekends, I don't know. But I know they had lights that went out where the water, not at the end, not where the water's deep, but where it's fairly shallow. They had lights overlooking the water. And my daddy and my uncles would go gigging.
Ah, yes.
And
What was gigging?
gigging was where you have this long gig like a pitchfork, and when you see the fish, you would
Gig it.
gig it.
Yeah, they did a lot of that, and they got some great big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Is that where the green lights come that people put under their docks so they can see the
No,
fish? Were they green lights?
No. They were just,
regular lights?
they were on poles and they went out over the water, and the end of the pier was dark. There was nothing open because my brother and my cousin would take my other cousin, who was my age, and would take us out and tell us ghost stories and scare us half to death, and we'd go running down the pier to where our parents were. There was a hole that was, remember that hole?
I remember the hole. If you walked all the way out to the pier, there was a great big hole cut in the pier itself. And the old men, Mr. Harley and a couple of the Harleys several older men would be sitting in chairs around it, snitching. They had snitch hooks, and they would snitch. Mullet.
Well, at least they protected you from falling in.
Well, they did. They looked out for me because my parents would drop me off at the pier, and they would take a boat and go out fishing in the flats, and I would fish on the pier. And they knew it was perfectly safe because all the old men were there, and they would look out for me. And they gave me, 25 cents or 50 cents, something like that.
And was there something you could buy for 50 cents or
Bait
25 cents?
and a drink.
Bait out there.
Yeah, had bait out there and a drink. You could get something to drink somewhere. I can't remember where.
That sounds like
Yeah.
fun. So you essentially family stayed with the people that you knew, and rather than kind of
Yeah, it was
with other children who
it
might
was
have been
like-
here on the island.
Palmetto kind of moved to the beach in the summer. But another thing that was interesting about the pier was the road that went from the pier down to where Galati's Marina is now. There was hardly anything on that road. It was a rut road, just
Narrow.
narrow.
Nothing but mangroves on
two-
both sides.
Two little ruts in the sand. And there was an old man, Captain Oley, who took care of people's boats. Remember Captain
I remember
Oley?
Captain Moley. Yes, he was the hermit.
The hermit. He took care of boats, and the docks were not really docks. They were just kind of poles stuck in the mud with boards laid across. Now, there were two houses, I remember, on that road. One of them is still there, but you have to look really hard because it's had so many renovations. But I'm pretty sure one of those houses is still there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he lived in a hut.
He lived in a hut.
Yeah, a really, truly hut.
Yeah. And he told the boys that if a hurricane came, he'd just tie himself to a tree.
Okay, that is a story. What do you miss about those good old days when you come out here?
That's
or
funny.
Living out here, what do you miss most about those good old days?
Oh, you don't want to get us started on what shouldn't be.
All right. How about if we say, what advice would you give to today's residents like me and visitors on Anna Maria Island? What advice would you give these people about the island and from your perspectives?
Just enjoy it like it is right now. It's not like it used to be, and it never will be again,
Yeah.
which is a shame.
Yeah. And I would encourage people to come to our museum and look at the pictures and see how things used to be. I mean, we have tons of pictures and lots of information. So I would encourage people to learn about this part of the world.
That's excellent. And we are filming your interview today in the museum, and with the backdrop of some things from the 40s and 50s behind you. So thank you for suggesting that. Your memories and stories have certainly enlightened me, despite the fact I've lived here for full-time for 15 years in Anna Maria. But it's important for us residents to understand our heritage on this precious and fragile island, and then convey this history and the ecological fragility to our visitors. Your memories will enable the Anna Maria Historical Society, better known as the Museum on Pine Avenue, where we are today, to help educate both our residents and our visitors. And I hope your willingness to participate in this video history will encourage some others to come forward, follow your lead and your example, and share their memories of earlier times on Anna Maria Island. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.